Good morning, children. Today we are going to do chapter 8 of science, winds, storms and cyclones. The video clip that you can see on your screen is something that you must have seen earlier as well. If not the same one, you must have seen something either similar in a movie or on some TV channels, in a news channel. As you watch this image, imagine if you were stuck up somewhere in such a situation. The sight is indeed very horrible, but this is something very recently, that is just 4 months ago, on 20th of May, eastern coastal regions of India, that is Orissa, West Bengal and some parts of Andaman were severely hit by a cyclone. The name of the cyclone was Amphan. You can see here the severity and the damage it is causing. Many people were killed, trees were uprooted, telephone lines were damaged, houses and vehicles were destroyed. It also caused heavy rains and floods. The wind speed was as high as 185 kilometers per hour, which was the major cause of destruction. There was another cyclone which hit the western coastal regions of Maharashtra, causing a similar damage. But what are these cyclones and why are they so destructive? And how are these cyclones formed? You know that wind, when it is moving with a speed, it can cause destruction. And what is wind? Air which is moving at a faster rate is called wind. To understand this cyclone, we need to first understand the behavioral pattern of air. There are some properties of air, like the first one is air exerts pressure. We'll perform a small activity and this activity will explain us how air exerts pressure. You have to take a tin can with a lid. You have to fill some amount of water in it and heat this can either on a candle flame or on a stove. Let the water start boiling inside. You can see the steam coming out. When you see this, you close the stove. And now this hot can, you have to put it in a vessel filled with cold water. It can be bucket or tub or any vessel. Fill it in, filled with water. Put this can inside that water and immediately what you see? The can gets distorted. Its shape changes. And why does this happen? This happens due to air pressure. Let's understand why this happened. When you heat the water inside, the water forms steam. Once you close the lid, no steam goes out, no air comes in. When it is put in cold water, the hot water which was inside condenses and its amount reduces. The amount of air inside the can also reduces. But the outside air, the air which is outside the can, exerts pressure, and because that pressure is more than what is inside the can gets distorted. It bends inwards. It gets compressed. And this activity explains that air exerts pressure. This pressure of air you must have experienced while flying a kite or while riding a bicycle. When you try to move in the direction opposite to the direction of wind, you have to exert more force. Why do you need to exert more force? because the wind is also exerting force or pressure on you. You fill air into your bicycle tubes. Air is filled in all the tires and tubes of all the vehicles. Why is it done? You also know that when you overfill the tube with air, it will burst. And why is it necessary to fill the tube with air? Because air exerts pressure on the walls of the tube, giving it a particular shape. You know what happens when there is no air inside the tube. So it is to give it a proper shape. And how it gives the shape? By exerting pressure on the walls of the tube. You must have seen leaves of the trees, flags flutter, banners, they flutter because of wind. All is because of the pressure which is exerted by air. Let's see one more activity, and this activity will explain you that when there is a high speed wind, the pressure of that particular area reduces. Let's do this small activity. What you have to do is take an empty bottle with a small mouth. Okay? If the mouth of the bottle is small, it will be easy for you to see this experiment. You have to place a small piece of chalk or crumple some small piece of paper and keep it slightly inside the mouth of that bottle. And now try to blow air inside the bottle. When you blow air inside the bottle, instead of that piece of paper or chalk going inside the bottle, it will fall out. And why does it happen? It happens again because of the force which the air is exerting. As you blow the air inside, the inside air which was already inside the bottle tries to come out, and that air, when it is coming out, forces that small piece of paper or chalk also to come out along with it. Let's see one more activity. Take two balloons of almost equal size and blow them up, and tie these balloons with the help of a string on either a cycle spoke or a stick, so that there is some gap of 8 to 10 centimeter in between these two balloons. Now try to blow in the space which is in between the balloons. What will you see? You must have thought that the balloons will move away from each other, but instead, when you blow, the balloons move closer to one another. So why does this happen? This happens because when you are blowing, the air in between the balloon becomes less, and the balloons which are surrounded by air from all sides, that air which is surrounding the balloon pushes the balloon towards each other, and hence the balloons come close to one another. We'll do one more activity. All these activities are very simple and you will try them at home. Take a strip of paper and hold it in between your thumb and your forefinger in such a way as shown in the figure. Now try to blow over the paper. You will see that paper rises up. It seems like the paper will go backward, but instead the paper rises up. And why does the paper rise up? Again, because when you blow over the paper, the air becomes less. That is, the air pressure also becomes less. And as a result, the air which is below the paper pushes it upwards. And this is why the paper moves upwards. So all these activities which we saw just now show that increased wind speed is accompanied by reduced air pressure. Now how is it seen in nature? Just now you saw in the video that if the winds are blowing, then even the roofs of the houses are carried away along with. So this is a result of reduced air pressure. When the wind is blowing up the roof, the air pressure becomes less, and whatever air is below the roof, that exerts more pressure, because of which the roof of the houses are blown away due to wind. We'll see another property of air. The other property is that air expands on heating. Let's do an activity to understand it. Take a boiling tube, fit a water in a beaker, insert the boiling tube with balloon in the hot water. Observe this for 2 to 3 minutes. Is there any change in the shape of the balloon? The balloon inflates slightly. The reason is air expands inside the balloon, and due to this expanded air, the balloon inflates. And why did the air expand? Because of heating. Take the test tube out, let it cool down at room temperature. Now put this test tube in ice cold water. What will happen to the balloon now? The balloon will become smaller in size. And why did this happen now? This happens because the air which was inside the balloon contracts. So this activity shows that air expands on heating and contracts on cooling. You must have used these Diwali balloons during the Diwali time, and what you do is you place the candle which is there underneath, you burn that candle, and because of burning of the candle, the air which is inside the balloon becomes hot. Once this air becomes hot, it becomes lighter, and this air balloon starts rising up. So this activity shows that warm air is lighter than cold air. Why does this happen? Anything that expands will occupy more space, and when same thing occupies more space, it becomes lighter. This also explains that why the smoke goes up. In nature, there are several situations where the warm air rises at a place. Due to heat, when the land gets heated, the surrounding air also gets heated and rises up. When the air rises up, the air pressure of that place is lowered, creating a low pressure area. And you must have learned earlier also, air always moves from high pressure areas to low pressure area. And this sets up a convection in air. Means there is a current or the movement of air from high pressure areas to low pressure area. And this is the reason for generation of wind currents. So wind currents are generated due to uneven heating of the earth. On earth, the regions which are close to equator, they get maximum heat from the sun. The air in these regions, they get warm, and warm air rises. The cooler air from the nearby regions, they rush towards this area because a low pressure is generated. So from 30-degree latitude belt of the either side of equator, the air moves in towards equator. These winds blow from north and southwards towards the equator. At the poles, the air is cooler than the latitudes, which is about 60 degrees. The warm air at these latitudes, they rise up, and cold winds from the polar regions rush towards this. In this way, wind circulation is set up from poles to warmer latitudes. You can see this figure here. The wind would have flown in north-south direction from north to south or from south to north. A change in direction is, however, caused due to the rotation of the earth. The second reason for the wind currents is uneven heating of land and water. You know, land gets heated faster than water, and you have also learned about sea breeze and land breeze because of this uneven heating. In summer, near the equator, the land warms up faster, and most of the time the temperature on the land is higher than that of the water in the oceans. The air over the land, it gets heated and rises up. As a result, there is a low pressure area. This causes winds to flow from ocean towards the land, and these winds are called monsoon winds. In winter, the direction of the wind flow gets reversed. That is, the land is cool and the ocean is warm. So, winds start moving from land towards the oceans. So, winds from oceans, they carry water and bring rain, and it is a part of water cycle. So, monsoon winds, they carry water and bring rains, and that is why it is called monsoon season. The picture that you see here shows the uneven heating of land, especially the Rajasthan part gets heated, and it generates monsoon winds from the southwest direction during the summer seasons. These winds, they carry lot of water from the Indian Ocean. This picture shows uneven heating of land and water in the winters. This is the map of India. The wind is generated from the northwest cooler regions. Northwest regions are cooler. The wind from those areas, these colder winds, they carry little water and bring little amount of rain in winter. Sometimes these movement of winds create natural disasters like thunderstorms and cyclones. Thunderstorms develop in hot and humid tropical areas like India. The rising temperature produces strong upward winds. These winds carry water droplets upwards, and when they reach up, due to the low temperature, they freeze and they fall down again. This swift movement of falling water droplets along the rising air creates light and sound, and this is called thunderstorm. It is interesting to know how a thunderstorm becomes a cyclone. When water changes into steam or water vapor, it absorbs heat. But when it changes back to water, that heat is released. So before the cloud formation, water takes up heat from the atmosphere and changes it into water vapor. When water vapor changes back to liquid and form raindrops, this heat is given out into the atmosphere. The heat released in the atmosphere, it warms up the air which is around. Once the air becomes hot, it will become light, it will rise up. Once it rises up, there is a low pressure area. When low pressure area is there, more air rushes from the nearby areas, and this causes the center of the storm. Wherever there is low pressure area, that becomes the center of the storm. And the cycle keeps on repeating. A chain of events end up in the formation of a very low pressure system with very high speed winds revolving around. It is this weather condition that is called cyclone. So when it is very hot, the cyclones develop. Factors like wind speed, wind's direction, temperature, humidity, all these contribute to the development of cyclone. You saw in the video in the beginning of this chapter that cyclones are very disruptive. They cause lot of destruction. Strong winds, they push water towards the shore. So even before the cyclone hits the land, the water waves reaching the land give an indication about the approach of cyclones.
These water waves, they are so powerful that a person cannot withstand them. Low pressure in the eye lifts the water surface in the center. The water rises high, and it rises as high as 3 to 12 meters. It appears like a wall of water moving towards the shore. And because of this, the seawater enters the coastal areas, the low-lying areas, causing loss of life and property, and the soil also gets destroyed. Its fertility reduces. There may be continuous heavy rainfall resulting in the flood situation. High-speed winds accompanying the cyclone can damage houses, telephones, other communication systems, trees, and tremendous loss of life and property. You saw all this in the video in the beginning. Tornadoes are not very frequent in our country. A tornado is a dark funnel-shaped cloud that reaches from the sky to the ground. You can see here this picture of a tornado. Most of the tornadoes are weak, but a violent tornado can travel at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. The tornadoes may form within the cyclones. Sometimes it may happen that there is a tornado inside the cyclone. The whole coastline of India is vulnerable to cyclones. Our country, its coastline, is getting affected or getting hit by many cyclones, one after the other, particularly the eastern coastal areas. The west coast of India is less vulnerable to these cyclonic storms, both in terms of intensity and also the frequency. Less cyclones affect the western coastal regions of India. We need to take some effective safety measures. When it is a tornado shelter room should be situated deep inside the underground. There should be no windows, or otherwise it is better to shut the windows and take shelter under a table. One has to bow down on knees and protect the head and neck using the arms as shown here in the picture. This is the position you should take under a table or under something which is strong, maybe a bed or a table. When it is a cyclone, what measures should be taken? Nowadays, science has progressed a lot, so the forecast of cyclone is given way ahead. So rapid communication of warnings to the people, government agencies, fishermen, to the ports, all should be given in well advance. Construction of cyclone shelters in cyclone prone areas and administrative arrangements for people so that they can move fast to safer places should also be taken care of. What people should do when they know that a cyclone is about to hit? Whenever such warnings are given to you, you should not ignore those warnings. Nowadays, on TV or radio, a continuous warning is being given throughout. So we should take care of those things and follow the advices given. We should also make necessary arrangements to shift the essential household goods, domestic animals, vehicles, etc. to safer places, and we should avoid driving on the roads on those times because of the flood. We should keep some emergency phone numbers at hand and also keep some medical aid, first aid things with us. Some other precautions if you are staying in a cyclone hit area. You should not drink the water because water can be contaminated. So always, whenever there is an emergency condition, you should always store some drinking water. Wet switches, fallen power lines should not be touched. Just for the sake of fun, don't go out of your house. Don't pressurize the rescue force people because They are there to help you out, but they do the work according to their ways. And also, we should cooperate and help our neighbors and friends. We have learned that all storms are generated in low pressure areas. Wind speed plays an important role in the formation of storms. It is therefore important to measure the speed of the wind. The instrument that is used to measure the wind speed is called anemometer, and this wind speed is measured by Meteorological Department of India. We have advanced technology that helps us at the time of cyclones. We are protected because of this well-developed technology. Nowadays, you must have seen satellite pictures which inform when and where the cyclone is reaching, what is its intensity. Everything is informed well in advance. You must have seen in TV news the cyclone pictures which they are forecasting throughout. So cyclone alert or cyclone watch is issued 48 hours in advance of any expected storm, and a cyclone warning is issued 24 hours in advance. The message is broadcast every hour or every half an hour when a cyclone is near to the coast. And there are several national and international organizations which cooperate to monitor the cyclone and the related disasters. They keep on warning the people of the area so that they can prepare themselves.
Here are some warnings that must be taken if the storm is accompanied by lightning. If there is lightning, then we should not take shelter under an isolated tree. And suppose you are in a forest, then you should take shelter under a small tree. And do not lie down on the ground. Do not take shelter under an umbrella which has got a metallic rod. You should not sit near a window or in open garages, stored sheds, metal sheds. Metals, they attract electricity. So, you should not be anywhere near the metals. Car or bus is a safe place to take shelter because it doesn't have a pointed end. And if you are in water, you should get out of the water and go inside.